Welcome to the Becoming You show, where limits get torched and possibility takes the mic. I'm Leah Rowling, human in permanent beta, neurostrategist, mom to 3 amazing humans, married to 1 legendary soul, and your no fluff permission slip to stop waiting. Every week, we rewire brain patterns, smash hand-me-down mindsets, and dive into the daring, identity-shifting conversations most people dodge. Ready to turn potential into proof? Grab your pen. Your next chapter starts now. Hello, my friends. How are you? Gosh, I hope you're awesome. Welcome to the Becoming You show. I am your host, Leah Rowling, and we're going to just dive right into this conversation of why your life looks the way it does. And I always struggle with what to name it. And so I named this the quiet power of choice. And so what I want to bring forward to start this conversation is a simple truth. And that is that most people aren't stuck. They just keep repeating choices that they've never really questioned, right? We tend to think of being stuck as a feeling, right? A lack of motivation, a lack of clarity, a lack of discipline, a lack of willpower. But more often than not, being stuck is not emotional. I want you to think about it. It's behavioral. It's a pattern of quiet, familiar choices made automatically, habitually. They're repeated consistently, and rarely do we question them. Not because you're not because you're incapable, not because you don't want more for your life, but because your life is being shaped by decisions that once made sense and were never revisited. And so today I want to talk about this idea, this quiet power of choice, because I think it's one of the most underestimated forces in personal growth, in leadership development. And so one, it's not a dramatic choice, okay? It's not a life-altering, life-transforming choice. It's the small, repeated choices that really explain why your life looks the way it does. And so we misunderstand being stuck, and we find ourselves saying things like, I just need more clarity, or I just need to take more action, or I just need to stop procrastinating, or I just kind of waiting to feel ready, or I don't know. I don't know the how. I don't know what the next step is. And I want you guys to consider that clarity doesn't come usually before choice, right? It comes after in a lot of ways, because clarity is built through movement, right? Through movement, through action, through behavior, not just contemplation on that, right? Most people aren't frozen, they're just moving, right? Just in a very familiar decision. They're choosing, we're choosing, okay? What feels easiest, what preserves comfort, what keeps expectations stable. And over time, those choices create a life that feels very predictable and eventually confining, right? So I want you to ask yourself this question. And if you take notes during these conversations, I love it. Thank you. Um, because I don't want these just to land in your ear. I want them to land in your heart and in your mind. And I want these questions to really help support, navigate that embodiment, the integration of the application of the theory and the conversation. So, what feels familiar in your life right now? even if it no longer feels true, right? What feels comfortable in your life right now? And if you were really honest with yourself, it wouldn't be something that you would choose consciously. It's just kind of, it's just kind of showed up. Okay. And I'm going to get to why it just shows up the way it shows up in a minute, but I just kind of want you to like sit with that thought. And friends, we don't need to make any decisions on it, right? So if you're saying what feels familiar in your life right now, well, maybe it's a habit or a practice of, after cleaning up, the kitchen, you go downstairs and watch Netflix. Okay? I'm not asking you to stop going downstairs after you clean up the kitchen and watch Netflix. I'm not asking you to stop doing that. I just want you to ask yourself, is this what I want to be doing? Or is it just familiar? Would your preference be to maybe sit with a book, journal about the day, reflect in gratitude, do a short meditation, take a little walk, right? Again, we're not making any decisions here. We're just opening up possibility for options to choose from. Does this make sense? Okay. So, the reason why I believe that we don't make offer up ourselves these options to choose from is because we have defaulted our identity to our brain and to things outside of us. We talk about identity like it's something that we kind of discover, but identity is built on what you believe is true about yourself, right? I want you to hear me say this. Identity is built based on what you believe is true about yourself. And we have to know that we don't have a brain that is wired for confidence. We don't have a brain that is wired to enroll you in infinite possibilities, right? We have a brain that is going to choose, that's wired by fear and doubt and worry and overwhelm. So if we have not intentionally chosen, crafted, directed our identity, someone outside of you, parents, family, spouses, in laws, friends, team members, or something, your brain will direct you. Okay? And so I want you to just kind of play around with that notion. If you have not taken the time to intentionally direct your identity, meaning inform you of who you are, you doing that, not your boss, not your brain doing that. You sitting down and saying, "Who am I? Who am I? What is the capacity of me? Not what I'm able to do. What is the capacity of me? And what do I want? What do I want?" I think for so many of us, what happens is we get to this place in our life, right? We graduated, we got married, we had kids, we got a job, we've got a house, maybe in not that order. And then we've just stopped thinking, examining, being curious about who we are. People stop asking, right? When we're young, everybody's like, "Ooh, what do you want to be when you grow up? Ooh, do you want to get married? Oh, awesome. You want to have kids?" Right? And then as we get older, people stop asking. And so we stop thinking about it. We stop thinking about what it is that we could want. We stop thinking about what is the capacity of us. We stop thinking about what our future holds for us as if we've checked all the boxes. And now we just rinse and repeat. And that random nature of our life is exhausting. It's not, it doesn't bring any sort of sense of aliveness to it. And I think what happens is that then we settle on having a good and even a great life. But we dismiss that nudge for more. And I believe that that nudge exists. And I believe that quest for more is because you don't just deserve a good or a great life, you deserve an extraordinary one. But if we're not even questioning who we are, as if we've checked the box. This is who I am, right? Or if we're not even questioning the future of who we can be. Nope, we've arrived. Or we haven't even thought about what we've wanted for so long, as if we don't stop wanting. And I think what happens is we still want, but there's a part of that brain that's online that is doubting what it is that you want. That's saying, "Who are you to think you can want that?" As if you need to have a huge excuse to want what you want. But I'll tell you, your wants are not random. I believe that if you want it, if it's in you to want it, it's in you to get it. And we forget about that because we let our brain dictate who we are. And so I really want you to think about that and think about identity forevermore as something, one, that you have to consciously direct and practice. We don't become confident because we decide to be confident. We become confident because we repeatedly choose honesty, integrity, courage over avoidance, over dismissal. We don't become grounded because you want peace. You become grounded because you choose presence, emotional stability, um, a self-mattering over distraction and indifference. So identity, right, needs to be directed by you, or it will be directed by something, brain, or someone. And then that identity is reinforced through what you do. What you do when no one is watching, what you do when there's no reward, what you do when the choice feels uncomfortable, but wickedly aligned with that want. And in those moments, there's nothing heroic about them. They actually feel quiet. I call it like invisible progress. But that's why they're powerful. And so the next question is, what does your daily choices say about who you're practicing being? Not, not who you necessarily want to be, but who you're reinforcing by way of your decisions. So let's just take, for example, if you thought, oh, geez, yeah, I do that. I clean up the kitchen and then my body just walks down the stairs to watch Netflix. I don't even think about it. It's just what I do habitually. And if you're a person, right, that has the capacity, has the desire, has the want to maybe be more well read, maybe to spend some moments in gratitude to lock in your day. Maybe it's to meditate, maybe it's to call a friend or a family member, right? Are those daily choices showing up? Or do you just continue to default to the steps and to Netflix? So I want you to consider that these default behaviors that feel so automatic, right? You're not deliberating them. It's not like you're going down the stairs and you catch yourself on the steps and you're like, wait a second, what am I doing here? Right? You don't pause, you don't question, right? In your mind, they sound like, oh, this is just what I do. This is just how I am. This just keeps the peace. This is just easier. This just works well enough. Right? And that default behavior really protects the version of you that already exists. I'm just somebody that cleans up the kitchen and goes downstairs and watches Netflix. That's just who I am. Right? And then I don't have to negotiate with myself about having a bigger, better, more capacity filled life. I don't have to debate that with myself. I can just do and rinse and repeat because that's easier. So if default behavior protects the version of you that already exists, then we need conscious choice to play, to get some time to have a say because that conscious behavior, that by way of conscious choice, that does something different. It interrupts. It it negotiates. It asks, "Hey, is this familiar or is it aligned? Does this expand me or does it just protect me? Am I choosing this because it's true or because it's comfortable? It's because it's what I've always done. Am I choosing to clean up the kitchen and just go downstairs and watch Netflix because that's what I've always done, because it's familiar and it's protective, right? And very comfortable, or isn't it? And we don't, here's the thing, you guys, your brain is going to want to freak out. It's not going to want to bring this to an awareness because it's afraid that you will no longer go downstairs and watch Netflix. We're not making a choice here. We're just choosing options. What else is possible other than going down the stairs and watching Netflix? And could that be something that I could create a habit around? We're going to do some habits, um, habit conversations and the psychology of and the science of habits in February. So I hope you'll join us for more of these conversations. But I want you to really think through this. Like, default behavior preserves your identity, especially if you have not directed it intentionally, especially if your brain just brought it forward. Oh, this is just who we are. This is just what we do, and tries to sell you on a smaller version of you. No, thank you. Conscious choice evolves it. And that evolution of you rarely feels urgent because your brain's like, no, thank you. We do not want to do that. Okay. So, where then are you choosing ease over the capacity of you? Where are you choosing ease over your own potential? Where are you choosing ease to stay small, maybe without even realizing it? Okay. So here's something really interesting that I wanted to bring forward as we close out this conversation. We think change requires big moments, right? Quitting, ending, starting over. We tend to think in black and white, which means that for my brain, if I choose to not go downstairs to watch Netflix after I clean up the kitchen, then I will forevermore not ever be able to, right? But identity rarely shifts through really big declarations, right? It shifts through very small, repeated decisions, right? So maybe in that in that same example, maybe on Tuesdays. Maybe just on Tuesdays, instead of defaulting to going down the stairs, I grab a book and a tea and I sit in the living room or in a little cozy area of my home and I read for 10 minutes or I read for 5 minutes and then I go downstairs. Or maybe I linger a while in the book that I've been waiting to read, right? And it doesn't just show up there, it shows up in conversations that you stop avoiding. You just choose one. It shows up in boundaries that you quietly keep. It shows up in truth that you stop editing. It shows up in the pace that you refuse to rush, the presence that you choose instead. Now, these choices don't look impressive. Like this is not Insta worthy like stuff, right? I'm not probably going to post on Insta, "Hey, friends," right? Instead of cleaning up the kitchen and going downstairs and watching Netflix, I made myself some tea and I read for 5 minutes, right? They don't look impressive, but man, do they build something far more important than being impressive to your Insta followers. They build self-trust. And that self-trust is the foundation for a very confident life. Remember, your brain isn't wired to be confident. Your brain is wired to worry, to fear, right? What's there to fear if we just continue to do the same thing that we've always done, right? So what small choice can you infuse into your choices this week, right? And how would that small choice change how you experience yourself? Just think about this. If all I did was read on Tuesdays for 5 minutes, I would have 52 times 5 minutes read, more than I would have if I just decided that that wasn't good enough or wasn't big enough or it wasn't right. And not to mention the ripple effect of that self-trust, me trusting myself to take care of myself and to take my book and my tea and read. That all those little choices of self-mattering, they stack on one another. Okay? So, I want you to think about what kind of person would this choice require me to be? It's just a simple reframe for everyday decisions, right? What kind of person would this choice require me to be, right? Not what will this get me or not how will this look on Instagram, but will this build self-trust? Or will it continue to prove the doubt that I'm so wired to have? Right? Will this expand me or contract me? This little choice to choose 5 minutes of reading on Tuesday, does that build self-trust? For sure it does. Does that expand me? Absolutely. Will I respect myself more or less after? Absolutely, I'll respect myself more. This really shifts decision making from outcome based, what I get from it, to identity based. And identity based choices always compound, even when results are delayed. So let me leave you with this, friends. You are not waiting on clarity. You're not. You are creating it one choice at a time. One choice at a time. Every small, honest, aligned decision, every small, honest, aligned decision is a vote for the person that you're becoming. Not someday in the future, but today. But today. You don't need to change everything. You just need to choose differently, consistently. Because who you're becoming, I want you to hear me, who you're becoming is being practiced. Let that sit. Who you're becoming is being practiced. One way or the other. It's either being practiced from an identity of default, stay small, conserve energy, avoid pain, seek pleasure, do less, or it's being practiced and you know what? I'm going to challenge myself to do something. I love the quote that Joe Dispenza says, the hardest thing about any sort of behavior change is not doing the same thing that you did yesterday. What is one little bitty thing that you could do differently to reinforce the identity of who you deserve to become and the identity, right, that you choose? One small choice at a time. All right, my beautiful friends, thank you for being in this conversation. If you felt like this conversation if you think it would help support someone else in who they are and who they believe to be, please share. I love it. Please share. I love your comments. I love the stars. So I appreciate it more than you know. So thank you for doing this work. Thank you for being with me in this conversation. Have a beautiful, amazing, wonderful day, and I'll see you next week on the show. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. If this episode cracked something open, good. Let it. And then head to leahrollingcoaching.com and grab the tools to rewire the story and reclaim your future. It is yours. And then share this with someone who's still waiting to be chosen, still waiting for permission, and remind them they don't need a breakthrough, that they are the breakthrough. Until next time, my beautiful friends, invest in you and keep becoming.